It's now been a full year without cruises in the United States. We're going to talk about that and when it looks like cruises might start back up according to the latest CDC guidance and everything we've heard from the cruise lines. This is Adventures in Coriolis. Thanks for joining today. Let's get into this 1 year anniversary of no cruises and also speculation of when we might see cruises resume again from the United States. Thank you all for watching this video. If this is your first time joining, I invite you to please subscribe to the channel. Cover a lot about cruises, but today I wanted to talk specifically about it being 1 year since the date of that what was at the time a voluntary suspension of cruises from the United States. That occurred on March 13th, 2020. Now, just about a week before, I was actually on a cruise myself on the Carnival Sensation. That cruise ended on March the 5th. You could already tell right around the time that I went on that sailing, things are starting to ramp up around the world with the pandemic. However, when I got off of the Sensation on March 5th in Miami, I never anticipated that just a week later that cruising would come to a complete halt. Now on March 13th, 2020, it wasn't like all cruises completely ceased. At that time, there were some vessels that were already sailing cruises, and I think those were allowed to complete the sailing. So a lot of cruises probably returned to port later than March 13th, but no cruises left on a new sailing on March 13th or later. Now this was a voluntary, the Cruise Line International Association, that includes the major U.S. cruise lines, they went into this voluntary saying we're going to suspend our cruises through April, I think it was like April 11th. It was only about a month suspension, and that was pretty rough for the industry, and a lot of folks were thinking, can the cruise lines sustain this shutdown, this suspension? Is this something that's going to, are they going to be able to stay afloat per se, when they're losing out on a month's worth of revenue? And now, a year later, they all thankfully have stayed in business and are still afloat, just, not selling any passengers still. So it's been a full year, so I thought that was pretty important to commemorate here. But also now, looking forward to when we might see cruising return. Now, there's been a lot of speculation. There's been a lot of return to sailing dates proposed by the cruise lines. I think Carnival in particular was talking about August the 1st, 2020. I think that was the first time when they were like, we're going to get return to sailing with a few ships, but that didn't pan out, of course, as the pandemic raged on. So now we are into 2021. What's going to happen? When are we going to see these cruises go out again from the United States? When are we going to be able to enjoy a cruise again? I know that's what everyone wants. I know if you're watching this channel, you probably have a great interest in cruises, so you're probably wondering that yourself. So let's look at a little bit of what we do know right now, where we're at. Currently, there is a suspension of all the major lines pretty much until the end of May 31st. That's the new date. So I'll just read down here a few of the cruise lines and what they're looking like. Of course, Carnival, all cruises through May 31st, and looking a little bit more specifically at some of the other changes, Carnival Miracle is currently suspended all cruises through September the 16th. Now these are sailings from San Diego and San Francisco. The Carnival Liberty looks like it could start back up on June 1st if cruises do resume then. However, September 17th through October 18th, those cruises have been canceled because it's going to be in dry dock. Also in dry dock in the fall, October the 11th through November 13th will be the Carnival Sunshine. And then the Magic, Paradise, the Valor, and the Radiance, these ships, all four of these ships now will not resume any earlier than November of 2021. Now these are all going to be undergoing dry dock refurbishments, and these were actually planned for earlier in 2021, but because of the pandemic and everything, they haven't actually made it into dry dock yet. So the earliest you'll see the Magic, the Valor, the Radiance, or the Paradise return to sailing will be November 2021. Now, of course, the Radiance hasn't even made an appearance yet. That was the Carnival Victory, and that went over to Spain to be refurbished as the Carnival Radiance. I think something like $200 million of refurbishment that's going to be made, come out as a completely different ship. You'll remember that the Carnival Sunrise did this a few years ago. However, because of the pandemic, that work has been halted completely. So I think that the Radiance is supposed to be going to the West Coast to do voyages from Long Beach, but none of that work has really been able to happen yet. And some of the pictures I've seen lately of what's still currently, I guess, the Carnival Victory, it's looking pretty rough with a lot of rust. So hopefully they'll get that work underway soon. And also the Carnival Legend. The Carnival Legend was going to be going over to Europe during the 2021 season to do European cruises, but all cruises on the Carnival Legend have been canceled through October 31st. Also, the Carnival Splendor and the Carnival Spirit, these are two ships that are down in Australia sailing voyages. The Splendor has suspended all sailings through June 28th, and the Spirit has suspended all cruises through September the 12th. Now also, that's just Carnival Cruise Line and its ships. The other major cruise lines here, currently Celebrity plans to maybe resume cruises on April 30th. That's their current suspension through April 30th. Disney has, like Carnival, said through May 31st, and this excludes, however, the Disney Magic, which currently has a suspension through August the 10th. And the Disney Wonders Alaska 2021 season is currently under evaluation. They haven't said whether or not they're going to cancel those. Probably depending on what happens in June, if things do get back up and running in June. But they did say that their Alaska season is on hold. I don't think they're allowing anyone to book those sailings right now, but they're not totally canceling them for people who are already booked on them. MSC cruises in the U.S. currently suspended also through May 31st. However, some Mediterranean cruises on MSC restarted in January, so that was good to hear that those are going successfully so far. And then more possible Mediterranean voyages are expected to start back up in late April. Norwegian Cruise Line also suspended through May 31st, and Royal Caribbean Cruise Line is currently suspended through April 30th. So I do anticipate to see a lot of those April 30th and some of the ones that were maybe a little bit earlier suspended even further back, maybe to June 1st. Now, with the majority of cruise lines anticipating restarting on June 1st, do I think that will really happen? I'm going to say probably not. And there's one big reason why I say this, and that's because one of the things that the cruise lines have to do to show that they are ready, I've talked a lot on this channel recently and in the recent months about some of the CDC guidance, return to sailing documents, and sort of protocols that the cruise lines had put forward. One of these things was that the cruise lines do test cruises. Now, these test cruises just have to show that the cruise line has made the changes necessary for them to return to sailing again, that their ships, have rooms where they can put people in quarantine, that they can take temperatures, that they can ensure that they can create a safe space for both crew and passengers on their vessels. And these test cruises are supposed to prove that. They're supposed to sail for 60 days. It's supposed to be like a 2-month period from when these test cruises begin until the cruise line can actually start sailing for real. So that's about a 2-month period. So let's think about this. We're getting into middle of March now, and these test cruises haven't begun yet because the CDC hasn't issued the guidance to the cruise lines on what they must prove and what they must show in the test cruises. So if we go probably another week or so, give or take a few days longer without hearing from the CDC on these test cruises, there's no way the cruise lines can get these test cruises in by April 1st, which would then put them in that 60-day range where they could begin sailing on June 1st. So if we don't see the guidance forthcoming from the CDC, and they've been told, the cruise lines from the CDC, I know as recently as late February that it was coming out any day, but if we don't see that guidance from the CDC soon, we're going to see that return to sail date pushed beyond June the 1st. So I'm not too hopeful about cruises resuming on June 1st. Now, I'm currently booked for the inaugural of the Mardi Gras, the Carnival Mardi Gras, probably the most highly anticipated cruise ship to come out in a while, and it's been supposed to come out ever since, I think, August 2020 now, so almost a year late because its current inaugural sail date is June the 5th. Not too hopeful about that. Without these test cruises going on yet, without the guidance from the CDC, I'm not really hopeful for the Mardi Gras to sail on June 5th. Another reason why I say that, the Mardi Gras has been camped out in Barcelona, Spain, probably for the past month or so, month and a half, I think. It's been doing a lot of test cruises from there. However, I think that's probably just to get out of the port, to give more space for other ships to come into port and get supplies. But it's currently, as of time of filming this video, it is actually in port in Barcelona. And it's going to take a good, 10, 12, 14 days for that ship to get across the ocean and into U.S. waters. So if we don't see the Mardi Gras begin moving toward the U.S. In the next week, just like the CDC guidance that we need, if neither of those things happen, then we can probably bank on the Mardi Gras not sailing on June 5th. I'm very skeptical about that date happening. I think it'll be pushed back further into the summer, maybe even into the fall. So let's all just take a deep breath and try to get our bearings. You know, we've gone a full year now without cruises. We can go a little bit further. You know, if it's the middle of March, we have 2.5 months ideally until cruises resume. Maybe 3, 4, 5 months until cruises resume. So we're going to get through this. We're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel in many regards with the pandemic, but specifically with cruises. As soon as we see that test cruise guidance come out from the CDC, we start to see the cruise lines planning these test voyages where they can get out and show the world that they're ready to sail under the conditions that we live in. Then I think we'll start to see, you know, some of these dates firm up for return to sailing. But, you know, the cruise lines have had to sort of dangle that carrot in front of us, and that's sort of what it's seen. I know personally I've chased this inaugural sailing of the Mardi Gras each time it's moved, probably 5 or 6 times now that I've rebooked it, and I just continue to do so, as I know we're all hopeful that it is like that carrot that's just getting dangled in front of us. But eventually we'll catch it, and we'll get back on those cruise ships again. So let me know down in the comments below, what do you think? Do you think we'll be sailing on June 1st? Do you think it'll be later? Let me know, what are your thoughts? I'm really curious to see what people think. And again, hopefully we'll see that guidance from the CDC in the next week or so that we can, you know, look forward to that June 1st return to sail date. But for now, I want to thank you all for watching this video. Thank you for checking out my channel. I encourage you to look at the other cruise videos I have here. Give this video a like if you liked it. Please share with your family and your friends. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you on the next adventure, hopefully on the cruise ship somewhere sometime soon.